before I start doing my other checks, which is I look at the ingredients and to see if there's something I don't recognize. That's the first thing I do.
Or
right?
like too many ingredients.
Too many ingredients. And anybody can do, I think the second part is just, if you see ingredients you don't recognize, Google it.
Immediately.
Right away. And then usually it'll give, you like, oh, this is used for jet fuel. This is used for yoga mats.
Great.
And now it's being used in your protein powder.
Yummy. Yum, delish. I want that.
Right? So I think that's Yo, thanks for locking in and welcome to Jyim Life. Today, my guest is Ava Ozone. Ava is a brand strategist. She's also been working in the fashion industry for over 10 years, but most exciting, she's recently dropped her line of non-toxic candles. Today, we're gonna be talking about chemicals, preservatives, toxins, all the things you need to look out for whenever you're shopping. You're not gonna wanna miss this. All right, we finally made it.
Yeah, we're here.
We've been talking about doing this one for a while.
This is true.
Right?
Yes.
Chemicals, toxins, all the shit we're super passionate about.
Well, the things we don't like, shouldn't like. You know,
Right?
depends.
Tell me about the business. How's it going right now?
Really, really good.
Yeah.
Picking up faster than anticipated, and just running all day.
Nice.
Just good.
All right, I want to talk a little bit more about that, but I'm going to break down what we're going to do for a workout today,
Got
and then
it.
we'll get into it. So everybody has a kettlebell. We're going to have the kettlebell up. We're going to go for kettlebell squats. There'll be 10 of those. After the kettlebell squats, we have a band. We'll go for banded curls. Those will be 10, right? After the banded curls, then we're going to go banded arm raises. Okay? You can even switch that over to like 1 foot if it seems tough.
I'm like, ooh.
Right? Then we'll get 10 after the banded curls. Then we'll go kettlebell swings, right? So we got kettle squats, banded curls, banded arm raise, kettle swings, and then we got side lunges that will just go back and forth here with no weight.
Got it.
Okay, so that'll be the circuit for today. We're gonna get into our conversation. I wanna find out what's going on with the business, okay?
Yeah.
So start off with the warm up. I'm gonna start the clock here for us.
Get ready.
Now, with the warm up, we're gonna start off with alternating hip hinges. And we're here, all right? But, okay, so just so everybody's fully clear, what do you do as far as your hustle, your business, your passion?
My hustle, my business, my passion. I own a non-toxic, plant-focused candle and fragrance company called
Okay.
Choice Blooms. Actually started out as an organic hemp rolling paper company.
Okay.
And I've kind of rebranded, and now I have candles. I have 5 scents, and then I just expanded into some non-toxic air fresheners.
I love that.
Yeah.
How'd you get into the candle? So you start off with the rolling papers.
I started off with rolling papers. I wanted my whole company to be hemp focused because hemp is a really, really great fiber. It uses a lot less water and less pesticides than cotton does,
Okay.
or even like wood. A lot of rolling papers are made of wood pulp or rice paper. But so I wanted it to be really hemp focused. And the cannabis industry is sort of interesting. Not the most friendly if you don't have a lot of funding to basically hang. So I couldn't hang in from a financial stand to be relevant enough in the industry. So I was like, okay, what am I making? What's in the industry that's missing that people aren't doing? And what makes my candles kind of special is that I use a hemp wick, which burns a lot cleaner than your traditional cotton soy combo that you find in most candles. So like most candles are made with a soy wax and a cotton wick or a wood wick.
Okay.
And that can be really scary sometimes because they're also like a cotton wick. When you look at candles, they'll be white. They'll be like super stark white, which is scary because that's not the natural form of cotton.
So candles can be made, most candles are made with a cotton wick or
Cotton
a soy wick
or a wood wick.
or a wood wick.
Yeah.
Okay. And the problem with those is?
Wood can be treated. So can cotton. It can be bleached with chemicals and things to make it last longer. And then also wicks can sometimes have lead or metal in them, or zinc.
And you're burning this in like to smell. Like these are scented candles.
Yes, they're scented or like aromatherapy candles. So they're on in your house and you're like supposed to enjoy them, but they can be really, really bad for you if they're made with ingredients that are not healthy for you. Or like you don't want to be burning a cotton wick that's bleached and then it has like a metal center because it wants the wick to last a long time.
It's funny because as you say that, I'm thinking about whenever I have my scented candles, the purpose of them is to me like, these smell good.
Right? Have this like refreshing, that was really lovely,
Right.
My home smells beautiful, but like, you could be burning like these really bad things that you're inhaling and exposing your endocrine system that like is changing your DNA and potentially giving you cancer.
Oh, wow. So now you decided to make candles that definitely aren't using a lot of these preservatives and chemicals to make sure that they're having a longer shelf life and that they last longer.
Yeah, like things that have a long shelf life, it really scares me. Also, like even in food, like if it's in the freezer and can last in your freezer for a really long time, it probably doesn't have anything good in it for you. Like things that are natural don't last forever.
Right. And I guess that's a key thing to look at.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people skipped that part. They're just like, oh, it's cool. It's a really good price. It will be for a long time. You go for that Febreze and it'll the whole bottle. But like that shelf life of that shouldn't be that long if like it's good for you.
Right. That makes sense.
So that's kind of what made me want to do Choice Blooms and the candles. I was like, wow, there's nothing like... There are candles that are healthy for you and all that. There are other brands, but nobody's using like a hemp wick and wasn't doing like a hemp focus. And I also put refined hemp seed oil, which is CBD sativa, into my wax.
Okay.
Which is like relaxing and cleansing and nice clean burn as well.
So you use hemp wicks?
I use hemp wicks, and then my wax is a hemp coconut soy wax blend.
Oh, nice. Okay, so that's something that people do not have to be concerned about when they're burning their candles.
Nope. And then another thing that people don't realize, so like you want to get a candle, and you're like, I need it to smell really, really, really strong.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So people put in these things called phthalates and parabens to like intensify the strength of a candle.
Okay.
Or a fragrance even, like a air freshener, any of that. So those things are not good for you either. Like if it's super, super crazy strong. Also, companies will do shortcuts by putting in these parabens and phthalates.
Okay. So there's things that companies are putting in to make the candles last longer, and there's things companies are putting in to make it smell stronger.
Smell stronger, last longer, and also shortcut on buying ingredients that are expensive. Yeah, which is really scary too. Like, thinking about as a company, you're getting a huge order and you have to make a lot of it, but you don't want to spend all that money on like all the good, healthy ingredients.
Right.
So you're going to shortcut by putting in that cheap fillers like phthalates and parabens. Yeah.
And you're making sure, and what's the cool thing is that and we talk about this a lot, is that these companies, their main focus is to save money, maximize profit.
Yeah. Most people, companies.
But someone like myself or you, because we're aware of this, we don't have any place to find things that we could trust, we're going to go against that kind of motto. It's still, we want to make money, but not at the expense of people's health. Yeah,
I think also being like not huge corporate companies, we think really differently. And you think about like the whole process of your assembly line and who's involved, like who you have around at your gym, who I'm like working with, or like is all of that good for everyone and beneficial, not just for you, but all people involved.
Right. So now, of course, because you would only go into this if it's something you were passionate about, right?
Yes.
And I think one thing we always, during our sessions, we're always talking about whether it's snacks or food.
I think I talk about food probably a little too much while working out.
Like, have you tried this? This is so good. Right?
Have you eaten here? Have you tried this snack at Whole Foods or one? Oh my God.
And then we go swing next. And our underlying focus between all of them is like, okay, is this going to be harmful, right? Whether it's preservatives, whether it's toxins, whether it's chemicals. And one commonality we found is usually when it's the smaller companies or single owned or people who have a focus on that, those are the ones you can trust. What are some of the things in products that you see red flags on, right? We're like, okay, if I'm looking, whether it's for soap, detergent, air fresheners, we're like, huh, if I see this.
Yeah, any ingredient with a paraben or a phthalate in it is like a huge red flag.
Okay.
Should, give you an indication that those ingredients are not good for you long term.
Okay.
Being exposed to them in short amounts obviously isn't going to give you cancer, but like
Right.
if you're buying that product and you're like a diehard fan, you always burn it, you're like, oh, that might not be good for me long term. But those two ingredients are probably the top.
Those are the top. And I assume they're in a lot of things.
They're like they're in food, they're in our clothes. Like if our clothes are made out of polyester, that's oil. Those have the dye to make your clothes green or black. Those probably might not be good for you. There's so many things.
So wait, so should we avoid or look out for clothes that are made with polyester?
Polyester is like a really interesting conversation, I think, in the fashion industry in general. Like the whole concept of poly or even like plastic, like recycled bottles and all of that, it can become scary because people are claiming that they're doing recycled clothes and all of this, but you don't really know sometimes their process if they're adding in more chemicals to break that stuff down to make a whole new garment and a new something, and then what kind of dyes they're using. Like we don't really get that type of, you don't get an ingredient list in your shirt.
In your shirt, right.
You get like it's cotton poly, this is how you should wash it. But like, how was it dyed? What kind of thread was used in that process? How was that thread treated? How was all your like fibers in that shirt done up? Like it's like mystery.
Right. We have no idea.
We don't.
And then like these are clothes we're putting on, we're sweating, pores are open, we're wearing
Your
continuously.
skin's like the biggest absorber of like your whole body,
Right. And I mean, just for the record, so you have also too, in addition to Choice Blooms, you have a background in the fashion industry.
Yeah, I actually designed clothes for like 15 years, maybe a little longer, like 17, last track. It was I learned a ton about just how things are made. Like learning about any of that in the process is like, it's really unique and interesting.
Right. And then we got break and then we'll run that circuit back again. Okay, so now in addition to looking for products in our clothes, is there any kind of precaution we could take when
clothes are hard? And I mean, anything that's like truly organic is always better for you. And if it's not dyed, like it usually will be like a cream color or natural. It'll have like little nubbies in it.
Okay.
They're usually that color when they're not treated. Like even something that's super stark white, that's been bleached.
That's been bleached.
Yeah,
to
because
get that color.
fibers, like when they're from like cotton and hemp, they're not like white or a color. They're usually like a brown or a cream. But they're like when they're natural, like untreated form.
Are there clothes made with hemp?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hemp like reduces sweat and it's super good. It's great for you. Yeah.
So I would assume cotton and hemp, but cotton we have to still be careful.
Cotton, it's like if you're gonna compare cotton or hemp, hemp and like bamboo even is better because it uses less water. Than growing cotton, like in the bigger picture of manufacturing, like fibers for clothing. Yeah.
All right. So I mean, this is huge because
there's a lot. Fashion industry in itself. We could have a whole other one on everything fashion, like all the things that happen.
But it goes back to I think if there's one thing that we want to look at to pay attention to is just when things are mass produced, right? Because when things are mass produced, like huge bulk numbers, not all the time necessarily, but they're gonna have to figure out ways to make the product last.
Like how do you get like all this food that we eat to so many people that are on this planet without it going bad? Or like, have you ever seen some of those pictures that like everyone throws away food to the garbage and it's like perfectly fine?
Oh no, I haven't seen. Okay.
There's like pictures I've come across where like the food is fine, or like Erewhon probably is less known to buy food that is going to be bad for you. Obviously,
right,
organic, fresh, all of that. But like they still throw it out because they have like a timeline that they keep on like what is considered fresh in their store. So like other companies don't care about that, and they're going to put all that gross stuff into it to send it to a store to keep it there as long as possible, or like to as much of it as possible, so they just get another order and like. Yeah.
But then, now what you say is funny, and for anybody who doesn't live in LA, Erewhon's a grocery store.
Yes.
And
a fancy
so,
one. Fancier than the Whole Foods. That we all know about.
A little expensive.
Little.
But now, because what you made me think of is like, because they're throwing so much stuff away, because it's organic, because it's real food, it's gonna cost more money for them, which they kind of pass on the cost to the consumer.
Of course.
But at least you know you're getting food.
Quality.
Good quality food. So I would think that for most people, you may want, even though it's expensive, you may want to select maybe your fruits and vegetables from there and then get your other things maybe from other stores. Or just find, if the store is expensive, find a place to at least get the organic ones.
Yeah, if you can. But
If
even
you can.
like, you know, even Erewhon carries stuff that might not be good for you too. Like you can only do so much when you don't know a lot about what's really like out there.
Yeah. Do you go to Trader Joe's at all?
I love Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a fan of the Trader Joe's. I switch between like Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, and even Costco carries organic stuff.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
And then I guess that's the label we want to look out for, is if it's organic. And I think it's important to emphasize this applies to everything. Whether it's your laundry detergent, your soap, your clothes, your food, anything that you buy in a store, you want to pay attention to it, because I think there's certain products that will kind of turn our mind off of doing the due diligence on.
I think I totally agree with you. It's like things that you use daily that you don't even think about. And you're like, oh, is that actually bad for me? Like, I've recently switched my laundry detergent.
Okay. What were you using before, and what did you switch to?
So I'm like super allergic to a lot. Like my skin is sensitive because of like all the gross chemicals that is in stuff. So I used to use the like Tide unscented, like even was called like clear, and it's considered the better choice, or the lesser of evil, and like having no scent. And I switched because I also thought about the bottle that it came in was this like huge plastic thing. Okay. And then like the liquid is sitting in this plastic thing that like, well, we all know the whole thing about like PFAs or PUFAs, of like how the plastic kind of dissolves in the ocean and all of that. Same thing's happening to my Tide. That's like sitting in this giant plastic jug that's huge, always. And then I switched to these little like sheets that are detergent, and it comes in a little paper box, and it looks like dryer sheets. Okay. And they dissolve into laundry detergent.
Okay, and it's pretty effective?
Super great.
And which kind is this now?
I would have to find you the brand, but all no phthalates, no parabens, no oils, no smells, and it takes up so much less space, and it's just it looks like a dryer sheet.
Oh, nice. You just throw it in there, dissolves,
and everything. That's it.
It almost reminds me about the conversation we were having last week about the dishwashing.
Oh yeah.
Right. So they come in those little pods.
Yeah, dish. I read about this, and when I found this out, I was like, oh my God, I'm getting rid of all of my pods for my dishwasher, because they're wrapped in a plastic that technically melts in your dishwashing machine when it gets hot. Okay. So it's getting hot. All this like plastic isn't really dissolving. It's just like covering your dishes. And you're eating off of that. Yeah. And I was like, I was so grossed out by this whole concept of just like the pods doing this thing. So I went out of my way to find pods that don't have any plastic wrapping, which there's like 2 brands that exist only.
That don't have plastic
that do
wrapping.
Not, and they're expensive. They're not cheap.
And it's because the plastic wrapping, we think it just dissolves or disintegrates, but it ends up on our dishes. Then we take the dishes out, and then we're eating. And then
we put it in the microwave. We put hot stuff on it. You get a little bit of that eventually. Like, it's kind of like drinking out of like plastic bottles and stuff. same concept. It's still like dissolving if it gets warm, any of that. That part scares me a lot, is like when stuff heats up, the composition of stuff always changes.
Right.
You know?
And that's when you have these carcinogens.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Which are essentially cancer-causing
Things
agents.
that, they change your DNA. Whether they give you cancer, like give you skin allergies, they give you some kind of effect, like, or you can't breathe. Like, it affects everyone differently. Like, not everyone's allergic to Tide regular detergent, you know?
Right.
But like, I super am. I can't use it. And the smell of it just like nauseates me. Like the strong stuff, or like even like lavender smell one that they've come out with. I'm just like, this is like, it's deceiving. It's lavender. You're like, ooh, that sounds nice.
Yeah.
But it's like, just like a cover up of like all the gross stuff that's in stuff. So yeah, it scares me of like to really know what things, how they're made. But that, I always like am an investigator, I think, in that sense.
Yeah. It's, you know what I think also too is both of us huge fans of farmers markets.
Oh, love
right?
it. Yeah.
Now from there, it's almost like just finding brand stores, places to get these place to get things that you trust, right?
Yeah.
And I think wherever you are, if you have a local farmers market, that's especially good for foods.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of times they have other products there as well.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah. They'll have people who are like-minded like us that, you know, want you to see these things like honey that they're making, or like a body scrub they made out of the honey with the sugar that they mixed, that they made locally and sourced it locally, or and you know, like the more information you get to hear about it and its backstory is like almost like makes me feel safe. Safer, you know. You're like, okay, cool. I feel good eating this. I feel even better eating it.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. What's your checklist when it's time to get clothes, right? Because I know for myself, because I have too much information when it comes to buying food, sometimes I'm walking around in circles in the store. I'm like, can't get this because sugar's the first ingredient, or this has too many preservatives, or way too many ingredients. You're like, I can't, right? So now, for you, when it comes to, let's say, buying clothes, is there a process that you have? Like, do I check and make sure it's made here? Do I check and make sure I can tell whatever it is?
Honestly, because I've like been to like what clothing factories look like all over the world, like in China and India, in America, in downtown LA. I know where they go, and you can't really trace back, I think, the whole history of a fiber. That, like, say you're buying a garment and you're like, oh, I only buy cotton hemp blends. That's gonna be really hard to like know, you know, the whole history of that. But I definitely have a tendency to buy more plant fibers versus polyester. So like linen, hemp, bamboo, cotton, and
linen, hemp, bamboo, cotton.
Generally, like, and if it's blended with a little bit of poly, like, okay, not horrible, but like I try not to do, like, you know, it's hard to find like workout clothes without poly, but natural fibers. That is like, I'm always happier when it's that kind of base. I don't always look for made in America or like made in a specific place, only because I know what it's been through. One thing I always definitely recommend whenever you get something like new from anywhere, online, you go pick it up yourself, wash it.
Wash it.
First
thing you should do.
Yeah, don't put it on. Because
do not put those on as soon as
like
you buy it.
you're gonna try them on at the fitting room or whatever. Cool, but like don't spend your whole day wearing it. I say wash it first, because like when a sewer is sewing something and they're usually in like an assembly line, they finish a part of a section, they're done with that section, and most likely that garment is either going into a bin or on the floor on a pile. In a factory that's like a warehouse that's super dusty, it's really dirty, it's most likely not like a clean like environment. Yes, they probably clean the aisles and rows that those things get thrown on, but like those garments go through so many little areas and hands and things. Wash it first before you commit to wearing it for a whole day.
And I think even when you say that, it almost makes me think about like food, right? Like food,
Same
garments.
thing.
They've had so many hands have been on this thing before it gets to you.
Hands, the truck it's been in, has the truck that it got delivered in, was it refrigerated correctly for your stuff to be delivered and accepted properly? Did they keep it outside for too long before they put it in the freezer at the grocery store? Did the truck break down that was carrying this stuff, and did it, like, you know, something happen and we don't really know? There's just like things have become too hard to follow almost.
Right. Too difficult for you. There's no way of even tracing that, understand, even from the best places or factories, right?
100%.
So I guess that would cross over even into linen, like sheets, blankets, towels, all those things, right?
Everything. Like your sheets, wash them.
Definitely.
100%.
Definitely. So now I would assume sheets, same ingredient line. So you're talking about linen, bamboo, hemp.
Cotton, hemp. Like I have all linen sheets, and they're like the best. And you don't like sweat as much. Like flannel's okay, but sometimes it could be made with like polys or plastics, depending on the blend. But like fiber, natural fiber, clothing, like you're always better off with like a home base of that being your start. And like if it's blended with a little, like okay, but home base, linens, cottons, hemps, bamboos.
Those are the best ones.
Plant fibers, the best probably, like overall.
And I mean, it's like, even if you're budgeting, if you're trying to make sure that you're just have a conscience where you spend your money, it's still a better investment to invest in something like sheets that you're going to have for a while, right? That you can wash, versus trying to save money on sheets.
Oh, I'm like a huge fan of going to Goodwill even. And like people toss out like nice linen shirts, pants, sheets, tablecloths, like everything. You just have to look for the fiber. I love going to a flea market.
Flea markets,
Goodwill, look for it. Or even on like reseller websites, like people will sell that stuff. And like even silk's a good one. Some people are iffy about silk because it comes from a worm, and you know, if you're vegan, it's not always. They're like, oh, that's like people who are vegan and they don't eat honey. Similar thing. It's like a little creature that's making this.
That's making this silk. You know what's crazy? All this time I never knew that.
And so that's why silk is super expensive too.
Silk is an animal?
It's a worm. It's a little worm. It's a silkworm.
That they kill.
No, it just like makes a lot.
Oh, it makes it?
It's almost like a spider that weaves like webs. It doesn't it weaves the fiber and then they take the fiber and then they put it into fabric. It's not like making like, you know, yards of fabric for you.
I wish. You take the skin off of this worm?
It'd be so sad. For killing them like that, that's mean.
That's funny. That's crazy. All this time I never knew where silk came from. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. And then we'll go to the curls. Okay, so now we're talking, and I'm really big on anytime we're having a discussion about someone making an adjustment to their life, right? Where you shop, what you buy, what you pay attention to, is giving them some kind of direction. Because I think you've been there, right? When you listen to whether you go listen to an informative seminar, workshop, podcast, whatever, and then you leave and like, I'm all riled up, but I don't know what to do, right? So
what's next?
I think one thing you mentioned that is big is kind of just making the ingredients the priority, right?
For sure.
Now, whether you go to Goodwill, whether you go to these places to get your products, linens, towels, clothes, just make sure the reason why you're going there is to check and make sure that it's made from cotton, linen, hemp, plant base.
And if it's organic, it might say it on the tag. You know how it does like on food, USD certified organic, and like you have to get fabrics certified organic and stuff, so they have to put it on the label.
Right.
But I feel like labels are also misleading these days.
Okay.
So like knowing your fibers and doing that research of like what it looks like an organic one versus finding like one that might be a blend and you're like, oh, this one feels different. But yeah, just educating yourself on those ingredients is super helpful to like not have to go pay that top dollar somewhere for it brand new, you know?
Yeah, so we can go to a certain place and you know
Yeah.
what you're doing because you've done your homework. You know, it's funny. I had a client come in the other day. And we'll go back. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. And he asked me a question that's pretty common, right? Like he brought in this protein powder. He says, "Is this good for you?"
Oh, I've done that to you.
Right? Is this good for you? And there's always a place that I go first before I start doing my other checks, which is I look at the ingredients and to see if there's something I don't recognize. That's the first thing I do.
Or
right?
like too many ingredients.
Too many ingredients. And anybody can do, I think the second part is just, if you see ingredients you don't recognize, Google it.
Immediately.
Right away. And then usually it'll give you like, oh, this is used for jet fuel. This is used for yoga mats.
Great.
And now it's being used in your protein powder.
Yummy. Yum, delish. I want that.
Right? So I think that's something that's very important is whenever you're checking your ingredient list or things that were put in to make your product, is just kind of paying attention to, do I understand what's in there? Everybody has an idea of what cotton is. Everybody has an idea of what hemp is, or they have an idea of what flour is, right?
Yep.
But when you start seeing those weird names, you're like, color 4? Color 4. I'm not sure.
What is this?
I'm not sure what that is.
I don't think I've eaten color 4 before.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. And I don't think that escapes any process of what you're looking for.
I agree, totally.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. It scares me. Like, I remember bringing you protein powder that I just found, and I was like, Jyima, there's like, just got this like fancy one. I paid all this money for it, and you're like, oh, it only has like 4 ingredients in it, and I know all of them. And you're like, monk fruit, blah blah blah, this that, and I was like, so we're good? Yeah, amazing.
Right. This is good to go. This is it. This is it. And I mean, also too, I think something you have to look out for is taste and just an awareness that we may need to reset our taste buds.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
This is a big part that I think really needs to be driven home. Is like, if you've been brought up eating processed sugars, chemicals, preservatives, and then you get the real thing, you're like, oh, this is nasty.
Yeah,
or
this tastes like cardboard.
Yeah, it's because your taste buds aren't used to what the real thing tastes like. So you may have to do a reset at some point.
It's almost like you can compare it to being like addicted to sugars, and like they even say it, like it exists, like addictions to sugar. And when you stop eating sugar, you're like, everything is just like, ugh, this is just not. It's not sugar.
Right.
It's not this delicious donut I get every day or like whatever. But like that happens, and it's hard to get used to eating or even like shopping clean, if you want to say.
Oh yeah, because you're used to something, but we have to remember that's the programming, right?
Yeah, or like we've just been like trained to know that those bad things that are in it, and not by any fault of our own. Sometimes it's just like how you grew up, and when you get, you want to change your ways, it's hard.
Oh, for sure, especially the sugar thing, though.
I'm so guilty. Yeah, it's just, yep.
Like once, and I was never really heavy sugar consumer, but as I got older, it was always less and less.
So
right?
jealous. It's the opposite.
The opposite, but more and more and more.
Give it to me.
But the one thing that I've noticed is like you can actually taste the tea. Like when I'm not putting sugar and honey and sweetener in it, I can actually taste the flavor of the tea. Where if I get like a tea that has like a mango flavor, whatever they have in there, I can actually taste it without having to add anything
and
on
it's
there.
like they're delicious. The herbs that they use and yum.
Right.
Have you ever looked at the amount of extra things they put into like Starbucks coffees that people get?
No.
Oh my God.
It's like a Starbucks coffee.
Not just plain coffee. Like say you want to go get a Frappuccino. that Frappuccino has that like extra classic syrup or whatever. That's like the sugar, extra sugar, because they'll like put whatever your mix or your blend is. I usually do like a matcha Frappuccino or something, or even like a matcha drink with it. And those are already pre-sweetened, right? So then they're like, do you want the classic syrup? Or they actually don't even ask you. It's already just automatically in it. So you have to know to ask to remove it.
So that's something like, so now we're going to get our Starbucks coffee or whatever, maybe even Dunkin' Donuts, right?
Yep.
You may want to make
ask if what else is in there. It might not just be that vanilla latte, because in that vanilla, they're putting like 4 pumps of like classic super sweet syrup. When like you probably only need like a tiny bit of it if you really want that, just like hint of flavor.
And then you go on thinking this is what it tastes like.
That it's like normal to just be like, yeah, because otherwise it's like super souped up and like things are just created like that and we don't even know because ingredient wise we're not like knowledgeable on it.
Yeah, coffee's a big one, I think. Let's go, I'll reach down. Coffee's a big one in the sense where I would get a coffee and I'm one of the few people that likes coffee just for the taste. Like
you like it plain, black, no sugar, no milk, nothing.
I'll add a milk.
Okay.
I'll usually add a milk, hemp milk or coconut milk.
Yum.
But then that's it.
Yeah.
No sweetener. But I like coffee for the taste versus like the get you ups on a regular day type thing. And I realized because I don't use a lot of sugar, the blend of the coffee in either the coconut milk or the hemp milk tastes so good.
So good.
Right?
Are you like a coffee connoisseur where like you know if beans are like brewed correctly and too sour or not? Like it can get really specific. Like when you're like tasting coffee for taste, people get so picky.
Right.
Which is good.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, that goes back to everything when it's like coffee or certain foods, is that when you start to, I would suggest this, right? If anybody wants to take just 7 days and cut out all sugar.
Oh, wow.
Just 7 days. Like 7 days, go on a hard cleanse, drink a bunch of water during that time, and just cut out any sweeteners. Just tell yourself in the 7 days I can go back. But what I would say is after the 7 days, try to incorporate things that are naturally sweet and see how much different they taste.
Yeah, and also see how you feel.
Yes. Oh, yeah, we don't take into consideration those highs and lows in energy during the day because we think that's normal, right? Those crashes are usually because of those sugar highs, right? And then it causes those blood sugar fluctuations, which is not natural, not supposed to happen.
Not good for you, probably, to happen like 2 or 3 times a day.
And it was turned side to side. So yeah, I really would suggest that like a nice cleanse and finding some of those foods. Dairy's another big one, right? Just being careful where you get your dairy from. The yogurt that you put me onto.
I'm a coconut person. I don't do dairy, but I do cheese.
Cheese.
But like if you ask me to put like milk in my coffee or anything, it has to be coconut.
Coconut.
And then like the yogurt that you're talking about, like that's the only yogurt I'll eat. Because it's also not sugary.
No.
And it's hard to find.
Very hard to find.
It runs out of Whole Foods all the time.
Yeah. But you just said that maybe coconut is a very good dairy alternative. That's my favorite.
Well, it's also a fat.
Yes, exactly. It's a healthy fat, so it helps with nutrient absorption. And as well as like, to me, it also just tastes good.
Oh, I love it.
Some of these, like almond milk, it's cool, but I would rather go with the coconut.
Oh, I'm a coconut junkie.
Yeah. Right. Well, hopefully people will make some adjustments in what they get, and good luck.
Doesn't happen overnight, but
no, it'll take some time.
Learning and doing little by little. You're not gonna like revamp everything you wear or eat or buy, but I feel like if the more conscious, the more you become of it, it's slowly but surely, as they say.
We'll get there.
Yes.
All right, thanks for coming down.
Thank you.